Basically what I do, if we'd make a recovery into myself subconsciously, I would say a prayer for that person we take out of the water. And that probably comes down to my faith and greater things beyond here. And for me it's an essential. It's not something I've ever shared with anybody before, but I just feel it's important.
I do have faith, I do believe in God. There is a comfort in knowing that He is out there. Yes, it's difficult at times not to question why He allows things such as suicide to happen, but you still have to believe.
Of starlight pierce the darkness. Here and there a flicker comes and goes, and underneath this wonder I am feeling so secure, and I'm not afraid to feel the cold wind blow, 'cause you are there, even though I cannot see you. You are there, though sometimes I cannot hear you. So I'll just sit here in the safety of your love. You know I haven't felt like this forever. It's only since you came into my heart. I believe that someday we'll meet beyond the stars, but till that day I'll know when we're apart that you are there, even though I cannot see you. You are there, though sometimes I cannot hear you. And I'll never be alone, for you won't leave me. So I'll just sit here in the safety of your love. I'll just rest here in the safety of your love. Ooh.
Back in 1748, a cargo ship called the Greyhound was making its way from Africa to England when it was caught in a fierce storm just off the Irish coast. On board was a slave trader, John Newton, by his own admission, a blasphemous rogue. Convinced that he was about to die, the non-believer called out to God for help. The storm abated and the crew spotted land. They made it safely to the shore, just along the coast in County Donegal.
That close brush with death was a turning point in Newton's life. While his ship was being repaired, Newton in his diaries comments that he came to a church in Derry, where he gave thanks to the God who hears and answers prayers.
Some years later, Newton was ordained a clergyman, and he became a mentor to William Wilberforce in his fight to introduce anti-slavery legislation.
To illustrate his sermons, Newton wrote hymns, his most famous work inspired by his first encounter with his God.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now can see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, storms, and snares, I hope already was grace that brought us safe thus far. And grace will lead us all. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life, as long as life, as young as life endures.
Just across the road from the Guildhall, this city garden is the home of Ireland's only World Peace Flame. Around the garden, local children have created a pathway of engraved tiles, a series of written pledges that tell of their commitment to live together in peace.
Although the flame was lit just last year when Martin Luther King Jr. visited the city, the project was inspired by the experiences of a local minister when he was many miles away from Derry.
During the second half of 2008, I spent 14 weeks in Camp Bastion as the chaplain of the hospital facility there. And in those 14 weeks, just short of 1,100 casualties came pouring into that facility. It was a wake-up call for me, because I began to reflect on how this is what it used to be like back home, but thank God we've exchanged our guns for government, and former enemies are now talking instead of fighting.
Is there a danger that we think it will never return, and therefore we become complacent?
Yes, we're not where we once were, but we're far from where we need to be. And so we must create the conditions that will allow us to see each other as God sees us, people made in the same image.
David started this process by inviting schools from across the city to write a 25-word peace pledge. The children then gathered together to transfer their message onto clay tiles. These would then be used to create the pathway to peace.
You know, we've grown up with the notion that children should be seen and not heard. How foolish. The wisdom that I have identified within the peace pledges that children from the age of 5 right through to 18 have been composing is quite humbling. It's quite moving.
It's such a nice project for Derry as a whole because all the schools are coming together. I designed this because I have a dove on it for peace.
They're more or less saying it's time to reach out. Are you going to tell me a little bit about yours?
That's like the pathway to peace there and the words behind it, and then like all the children or people are holding hands. That shows that they're working together as a family by holding hands.
That's beautiful. What we need to do more than anything else is to turn not on one another or from one another, but towards each other. That's it in a nutshell.
What does the message of the patron saint have to add, if anything, to what you're doing?
Just as Patrick felt he was raised up as a stone with a message for the people, these messages will be used to encourage all of us to keep on and on and on building a shared future from a divided past.